Tell me about the first time you met Barack. What was your impression?
I was a first-year associate at Sidley and Austin. I just graduated from law school, had spent my first summer as year as an intern, and there was all this buzz about this hotshot young first-year law student from Harvard. And everyone, I mean, from the head of the firm on down, had talked about how brilliant this guy was, and it was rare that a firm as big as ours hired first-year students. So he was going to come in as a summer associate. And they decided that I should be his advisor, probably because we both went to the same law school. We were both minority students. So I remember getting his bio. And I probably did what a lot of people do when they hear about Barack Obama. First I thought, what kind of name is Barack Obama? And I found out that he grew up in Hawaii. And I found that strange as a girl who grew up on the south side of Chicago. I had never met anybody who lived in Hawaii. That was always where you vacationed. It wasn't where you were from.
Right.
And I found out that he was biracial. So my assumption was this guy's got to be kind of weird, right? Probably a little nerdy. I'd already sort of created an image of this very intellectual nerd. And I was prepared to be polite and all that. And then he walked into my office on that first day, and he was cuter than I thought he'd be. So that was a first positive impression, but I had to take him out to lunch on that first day, and we had to talk. And he told me more about his background, and he fleshed it out a bit more. I found out that his father was from Kenya, his mother was a white woman from Kansas, and that he had spent part of his life in Indonesia. And I just found him intriguing in every way that you can imagine. He was funny, he was self-deprecating, he didn't take himself too seriously. He could laugh at himself. I mean, we clicked right away. He was very down to earth despite having come from this very exotic background compared to mine.
And yet you didn't date him. You passed him off to your friends. Why?
You know, that was sort of part of where I was in my life, because I was taking my job as an advisor. I was his advisor very seriously, and it was my first responsibility as an associate. So, and my mind wasn't focused on dating. I thought this guy is going to be a good friend of mine. I liked him, we hung out, but I just didn't see that. I didn't see a relationship coming out of that.
So tell me about the first date, because he wanted to go out with you, and something must have changed. Tell me about that first date.
You know,
what
well,
did you do?
we had spent a month in the firm together, and we were developing a really good friendship. And he lived near me in Hyde Park. I lived in South Shore. I still live with my parents. So I liked him, but he insisted that we should go out on a date. And I thought, no, that wouldn't be the right thing to do. And he said, who cares? So I said, okay, we'll go on this one date, but we won't call it a date. I'll spend the day with you. So we wound up spending the day. We went to the Art Institute in Chicago, and he impressed me with his knowledge of art. And we went to lunch in one of the outdoor cafes at the Art Institute where they were playing jazz. So that was really sweet. And then we walked up Michigan Avenue. It was on a really beautiful summer day. We just walked and we talked and we talked, and we wound up going to see a movie. And our first movie was Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. It had just come out. So that was sort of his cultural side too. So he was sort of pulling out all the stops. And then we wound up having a drink on the 99th floor of the John Hancock building, and that gives you a beautiful view of the city. And probably by the end of that date, it was over.
You were sold.
I was sold.